As they considered their next move, the scene shifted. We're shown a gate, an ominous swirling portal identical to the one the hunters had entered through earlier. This gate was the reason they were in such peril now. These gates had begun appearing around 10 years ago, their sudden emergence turning the world upside down. They could appear anywhere, on the ground, in the sky, inside buildings, completely at random. With the arrival of the gates came monsters, and something else, hunters, people who had awakened special powers to fight against the threats emerging from the gates. But there was a catch. Once a hunter awakened, their power level became fixed. It could not grow. This meant someone like Hunter Sung Jin-Woo and E rank would always remain weak. Anyone could become a hunter, but not everyone became strong. Sung Jin-Woo's story was the embodiment of this cruel reality. Despite the danger, despite the injuries, despite always being one step from death, he kept entering gates because he had no choice. Within each gate, hunters would encounter all manner of monsters, beasts, abominations, even creatures resembling gods or demons. And this temple, Kartanen, was unlike anything they had ever seen. Her protagonist, Hunter Sung Jin-Woo, had faced terrifying monsters before, even in D-rank gates. But now, as he sat on the cold stone floor of the temple staring at the massive statue with glowing eyes, he felt a fear unlike anything he'd ever known. His thoughts were heavy, not just with fear but with helplessness. And then his eyes drifted to Mr. Song, whose left arm was still bleeding. The older hunter, pale but composed, noticed his gaze. "I brought 3 healers with me on this raid," Mr. Song said grimly, "but there's nothing they can do now." One of them had already died, killed instantly by the beam that shot from the statue's eyes. The second was paralyzed with fear, his mind too clouded to even think clearly. And now the third, a B-rank healer, was lying on the floor completely consumed by the same overwhelming terror. None of them could move. None of them dared to rise. So they sat frozen in place, their bodies trembling, as they prayed the giant statue wouldn't strike again. Hunter Sung Jin-Woo and Mr. Song remained still as well, not just out of fear, but because they were thinking, quietly, desperately. What could they do? They couldn't fight it. They couldn't run. And every second that passed only made the silence in that vast, deadly temple more unbearable. Most of the hunters were paralyzed, not just by fear but by everything they had witnessed. The brutal deaths, the helplessness, the overwhelming power of the statues, it was too much. And on Hunter Sung Jin-Woo's face, that desperation was clear. He wasn't thinking about fighting anymore, he was just trying to survive. Desperately trying to find a way, any way to avoid facing the wrath of these statues. Then suddenly, movement, one of the hunters stood up. He had recently joined a major guild and didn't want his life to end so soon. Not here, not like this. Confidence burned in his eyes, fueled by pride, and the power in his legs. He believed his speed could save him. Ignoring the squad leader's desperate command to stay down, the hunter braced himself, then launched forward. In a flash, he was sprinting toward the doors with everything he had. His powerful legs drove him like a machine, his gaze fixed on escape. For a moment, it looked like he might make it. But the statue in the center of the room had already seen him. Its eyes gleamed like molten gold, and in the next instant, a beam erupted from the statue's eyes faster than thought. And just like that, all that remained of the hunter were his feet, still standing where he'd launched from, everything else obliterated. The other hunters couldn't believe what they'd seen. Some screamed in raw horror. Others couldn't even speak, their voices stolen by fear. And yet in the midst of that silence, one emotion surged stronger than fear inside Sung Jin-Woo. He was afraid, yes, but he was angry. Angry at his own powerlessness. Angry at this dungeon, at the statues, at the twisted rules that decided who lived and who died, and maybe that anger was what would keep him alive. It was clear to everyone now, these statues could kill them at any moment, but they didn't, and that was the most terrifying part. Squad leader Mr. Song too was baffled. If the statues were so deadly, why weren't they attacking now? Why were they just standing there? So the survivors began to think, to reason. These monsters weren't like the others they had encountered in dungeons. Normal monsters attacked anything that moved, but here it was different. The guardian statue at the door only attacked those who approached the exit, and the massive statue in the center, it only attacked those who stood up or made sudden movements. Hunter Sung Jin-Woo sat motionless, deep in thought. His mind raced, trying to make sense of the rules that governed this nightmare. Then something clicked. His eyes slowly turned toward a particular statue different from the rest. It was the one holding the stone slab with runic writing. He remembered Mr. Song had translated those inscriptions before, the rules of the Temple of Kartanen, and now from the look on Sung Jin-Woo's face it was clear he had figured something out. He turned to Mr. Song and asked, what was the first rule of the temple? Mr. Song was confused, unsure why Jin-Woo was asking now of all times. But after a moment's hesitation, he replied with difficulty. The first rule was to worship the Lord. And by the Lord, Jin-Woo said slowly, you probably mean the statue in the center. Mr. Song's eyes widened. Then to his horror, he saw Hunter Sung Jin-Woo begin to rise to his feet. No, wait, what are you doing? Mr. Song cried out, panic in his voice. Jin-Woo kept rising one movement at a time. Mr. Song couldn't understand. Why was he doing this? It made no sense. The center statue had obliterated a man for simply running. Was Jin-Woo out of his mind? But then Mr. Song caught a glimpse of Jin-Woo's face, and all at once his panic melted away. The hysterical shouting from Mr. Song died in his throat. Somehow he realized Jin-Woo knew what he was doing.